We're live on the Live Master Showcase with our special guest, Mr. Cliff Starks. Super excited to have him here. We recently finished our Live Master 7-day video interview challenge. Here's the interview. Cliff is an amazing guy. I don't know where to begin to start. He has an incredible story. He's a professional athlete. He's passionate about helping others gain confidence. That's really what he's known for. I know he's got a course and he's really empowering other people with his life experience. So I'm really excited for everybody that's going to be catching this live or on the replay. Like we always do here, I kind of give you a little brief intro. We're really going to get to know Cliff. I'm sure he has some great stories that will empower you throughout this broadcast. So get your fingers ready and start liking, loving, and sharing this broadcast because I know it's going to be insightful and impactful for you. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Cliff Starks so we can introduce yourself, Cliff, and let people know what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Mike. 100% appreciate that. I'm excited to finally be live with you, actually. Like, I'm really pumped up about that. So whatever, there's no questions that are off the table. I'm about mindset. I'm about getting it in. And I'm about living with impact and purpose. So it's having that mind, body, spirit approach, essentially.
Awesome. Sounds good. So you and I actually connected through a mutual friend, Rick, Rick Eli. And that's kind of cool. That's, and it was through video, right? Rick and I connected through video, and then somehow through the way that God works, it wanted us to all get connected, right?
Absolutely.
And we built that relationship. And so I invited you to Live Masters. Now I've known you for well over a year now, I believe, maybe about a year and a half. Invited you to Live Masters, but you've been doing your thing. And so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your background and how all this got started for you to inspire people?
Yeah, so I've always had a big heart, and I do the best that I can. Life throws us curveballs and challenges, ups and downs, and life just threw me challenges early on in life, and I've actually had three approaches that I work with, and that's it's you against the world, because a lot of crappy things happened to me early on. And I just believe like I can be stronger than anything that comes my way, like bring it. And then I got to the stage where it's you against you. Eventually you prove people wrong so much that you don't even have to prove them wrong anymore. You just have to do it for you. You don't do it for anything else. And now I'm at that stage where it's, the world works for you. And it was always doing that, but you have to go through your process to understand that it's doing that. And so seeing the world working for me, I'm like, I get to use the big heart that I have and the energy that I have, and I can spread that light and remind others to do the same.
That's awesome. So what are some of the life events that happened to you that really catapulted you into this? I mean, for me, it was some experiences that I had growing up. I was picked on and all that good stuff. But I know you have a pretty incredible story. Listen, I don't care how long we talk on here because your story is so impactful and so inspiring. Why don't you just kind of share some of the good stuff?
Yeah, thank you, brother. Well, so my biological dad, I only remember a couple moments with him, and when I was 4 years old, I remember him driving away. And that's where I kind of had that it's me against the world. It's like people who are supposed to be there and supposed to care for you can just drive out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be strong no matter what. And you got to do the things that you need to do no matter what. And I got picked on for being an overweight kid too. And so the combination of that, it was funny because there was a piece of me that's like, I don't care what you say about me. I don't care. But when I saw myself in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, then I started caring. And that's when I said, I got to get in shape. I got to get this right. And after I got that part right, what was so funny about it, it takes our mind time to catch up with our body. And so my body was actually in shape before my mind was. And I felt like fixing my body would make it all better, and it didn't. It gave me more energy, and it made me be able to do things that I couldn't do before. But I still had those insecurities. And so I had to work through some of those insecurities. And part of the ways I worked through those were from competition. because in competition, you can always get better. Like that's what I loved about competition so much. And the best part with sports competition is there's clear, tangible results. Like you know if you're winning or if you're losing. There is no question of, well, maybe you're kind of winning. Like, no, there's a scoreboard, there's a timer, and there's other people trying to take you out. And so that's when I really started building that ironclad mind to keep moving forward no matter what comes my way. I'll never forget, I know everybody has their different thing that really gets them. Mine is we're all going to die, like every one of us. And so we get to choose how we're going to live through our process. And so that's that spirit, that impact, that purpose. If I live with impact and purpose, I know I'm doing the right thing. That's the one thing that gets me through crappy times in life. Just to say, if I just keep living with impact and purpose, I know things will somehow work out. And there's a lot of times I don't know how they're going to work out, but I know that they will.
Yeah. You touched on something a minute ago about how you thought that if you got your physical body in shape, then everything would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through this before too, where I went through a lot of the same stuff, getting picked on, and I lost weight, got in great shape. But it's so funny. You're right on point with your your mind not catching up with your body, and sometimes that's why people go up and down with their health, right?
Yeah,
Because the mind is not fixed. So yeah,
yeah.
that's a really really good point. So now what was the sports activities that you excelled at, that you saw these tangible results and you started winning? What is your biggest passion in sports?
Well, what's funny is I feel I can get good at anything if I put enough energy into it, like anything. And so my big sports were wrestling, track and field, and football. So I was an All-American football player. I was a state champion in the track and field for shot put, two-time state champion, and I was a state champion in wrestling too. Now, if you saw the way I played basketball, it looks atrocious. Like I know they say black people can play basketball, that's not always true. Because give me a ball and it's going to look ugly. But I know, this is what I do know. If I try it long enough and I had enough desire to be good at it, I know I could be good at it. And that's kind of like awaken the greatness within for me is like, no, we all can do what we want to become. We can choose what we want to become. And you have to have passion and purpose towards it. And sometimes our mind will, because it's a tricky thing, it'll trick us into believing like just do what you're okay at and leave that alone. Like I know we're talking about staying in your lane. And it's like, no, there is no lane to stay in. Go after untouched territory. Like, just try it. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? Someone says something bad about you. But you can do it long enough and do it for 3 to 6 months to see if you're any good at it or if you really just, nope, you're not passionate enough about it. And if you're not, it's cool to walk away.
Well, that's when you know that it's not. I think that's when you know if it's not for you, is when you don't. I think you really need to trust your feelings in a lot of things and do the things and follow your passions, the things that you like, right?
Yeah,
That's why if you're not happy, it's a warning sign. Like, hello, there's a reason we're born to
yeah,
be happy, right?
yeah, I agree with that.
So how did tell us how your MMA career started? I'm really curious to hear the backstory on that, because as you grew up, you excelled in these sports and you were all American. Um,
Uh,
how did that develop to your MMA career? Because that's a whole nother chapter, which is really cool.
yeah. I'll say the itch never goes away. You know, when you are a competitor, you cannot help yourself. You just can't. Now, I wouldn't choose to go into the ring at 50 or 55, but I would find something else to compete in. But I wanted to try something that was audacious. That was just, most people would say, like, who would do something like that? And I'm looking at the cage and I'm like, huh, that could be kind of fun. Let's see if I'm any good at this thing. And so that's when I tried it. And let me tell you, the butterflies and the nervousness from the first fight, like you're getting your hands wrapped and you aren't ready for any of it. Like, Being in a street fight is completely different than a professional fight because you have to be a professional in that fight and they're actually training to beat you up too. And so when you go through that entire process, it's very nerve wracking. But I will say, when we can deal with stressful, difficult times, it's empowering. I actually made a post saying diamonds are made from pressure and dust is made from pressure as well. And so you got to see how you're going to show up that day. And so if I get an opportunity to go into the cage, I get to see who I am because it lets all of those things to the surface and lets you know, like, okay, did you prepare yourself or did you not prepare yourself? Are you lying to yourself? Are you cheating yourself? Let's find out.
That's one thing they say about that profession is you're exposed to the world and everything about you is out there.
Yeah.
If you prepared, if you put in the work. So when was your last fight? When was your last fight that you had?
My last fight was in 2017. Yeah, I was, and it was funny because I didn't know that I didn't want to fight anymore. Like, you have to ask, why are you doing what you're doing? And I remember wanting to be safe and protect myself because if I would have hurt a limb or did something that would have really injured me, I wouldn't be able to watch my son the same way. Now, that's probably not the best thing to be thinking about when you're going against another professional fighter, but it was, and it slowed me down. Like, it slowed my whole game down. And after I got out of there, I'm like, yep, I guess it's time to go into a new chapter of my life. And so I walked away from the sport.
So that's crazy how you literally understood how powerful your mind was, and just having that little thought in the back of your subconscious mind
Yeah.
is would be very, it could be deadly to you in the ring,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
that split second where you think about your kid and, oh, I'm going to get hurt. That's all it
Hmm.
takes. I mean, because you could be focused 100% in the fight and still get knocked out. Like,
Yeah. That's what I love. Like, you have to be so precise with those small gloves. And you're dealing with fists coming at you, shins coming at you, knees coming at you, feet coming at you. Like, you're dealing with so many things coming at you, and you have like split seconds to react. And so since you have so little time between every little thing, you have to you have to dot the i's and cross the t's. Because if you don't, you get hurt in this. You just get hurt in the game.
I could see that. So after you stopped fighting, what how did you transition into what you're doing now? I mean, because you're a great speaker, man. I've seen your
Yeah.
videos. You have some really good stuff on YouTube that you put the music and you edit it to. You have some really really good stuff. So I'm just curious if you could share how you made that transition from, because I'll
Yeah.
never forget the first time I saw you was when
Uh-huh.
Rick interviewed you and he was like, okay, this fighter to this guy, like, and
Yeah.
that's out there inspiring people. How did that transition happen?
It was very bumpy and rough. So I actually started doing Amazon FBA. So if for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's fulfillment by Amazon, and basically I'm a third party Amazon seller. I was getting really entrenched into understanding that game. And so I practice what I preach. And so it was 3 to 6 months. So I gave it 6 months to really, really dial it in. And I actually got decent at it. I was making some money doing it, but I didn't like it. It was a nightmare to me. And so I had to make a decision on what I was going to do next. And that's what's kind of hard because when you're not for sure what's going to happen, Tony Robbins talks about burning the boats. And that's the way you do have to live in life. Like, you have to burn those boats and go all in something. And so when you go all in on one thing and then it wasn't that thing, sometimes it's hard to make that pivot and go all in into something else. But I knew it was gonna be have to be something I needed to do. So I had to make a decision. And so I'm like, well, what do I like? Like, what do I know that I like for sure? And I just started thinking, I love inspiring people, I love bringing people up, and I love helping them get to the success that they need. Now, I was still a personal trainer on the side, but it wasn't fulfilling me in the way that I wanted it to. I still love personal training, but I wanted a bigger mission. And so I stepped back and I got into speaking. I tried speaking, and just like anything, you suck when you first start it. Like I had the inspiration part, but I couldn't really focus or dial it in. So people felt good, but they didn't know what to do with that feel good. Because feeling good's just not enough. Like, man, I feel amazing. I don't know what to do with feeling amazing, but I feel it. And so I had to dial it in, and I started going backwards and saying, okay, what have I taught people along the way to get to where they need to go? Like, what has actually brought in the greatness in other people? And so I did a reverse engineer, and I saw there's six key principles that show up every time. And so I started just jotting those principles down, see how those principles have helped me, see how those principles have helped other people. And now I can layer the stories and explain to people what to do to move forward on their journey.
Those are your 6 core principles,
Yeah.
right? That you go back
Hmm.
to. So would you be willing to share those with us?
Absolutely. So, and I'm always refining them too. So the first principle, like I'll give an example, it's called the 3 C's. And it talks about having clarity, confidence, and commitment. If you're clear on what you want to do, if you're confident about doing it, and you're committed, the process becomes a lot easier. Now, the best way to do that is just say, okay, what final outcome do you want? And what can you do right now to get to that outcome? And why are you committed to this thing? And sometimes people miss the process because they go into something way too quick before they ask themselves those questions. Like if I would ask myself those questions, in fact, no, I wouldn't be doing Amazon FBA. I knew I wouldn't be committed to the process in that way because it's going to get hard. Like anything worth going after is going to have bumps. The second, an effective plan and just knowing what to do. Now, having an effective plan, sometimes people can get intimidated by it because they think it's a bunch of things that they have to do, and it's not. You just have to start with 2 or 3 things and keep it super simple. Like, what 3 things can you do today? And I'll be the first to admit, I have to go back through my personal process too, because I'll sometimes try and plan things the day of, and it just slows me down. I'm checking emails, I'm all over, like, I'm checking notifications. I have to plan my day before it starts. Because if I plan my day that evening, then I know what I'm doing and it's off to the races. And then the third is passionate action. And passionate action is not going to come before those other 2 things because they don't know what they're acting towards. And so that's why it would almost be like if you were to take someone and tell them to run down a foggy road as fast as they can and they can't see anything of what's going on, they're not going to run through it. They're just not they're going to slowly shift through it. But if you can clear that fog up and you can give them an actual destination of where they're going and you say you get there as fast as you can and you get this prize at the end, they're going for it. They're going to do what they have to do. And so that's why it's a process that they have to go through. And then the fourth is those unshakable faith, because life just throws crap at you sometimes. You might be running down your path and a tree falls over. And you're like, well, what the heck is this tree doing over here? And so that unshakable faith is, I said I'm going to get there, so I'm going to get there. Whether I have to jump over the tree, go around the tree, whatever I have to do, I'm going to get there. And the fifth is taking that responsibility. And I wait with taking that responsibility because that's my own personal modality. I've realized people do better when they're feeling good. And when they're feeling good, they're going to look at the shit that they've done in their life and really own that and say, you know what? I have created this reality. And now it's time to look at it and say, what am I going to do to make it a different reality? I'm sick and tired of it, and I'm going to make it a reality. Or the leaders who also take responsibility, they're really big on, all right, I made a mistake. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to get better because of it. And the sixth is just the greatness within is when you're firing on all cylinders, when you're hitting mastery. And what some people think mastery is this thing that you hit and then you're done, like you finished the game, and you don't. Like they say, there's there's a story of a white belt jujitsu artist, and he ends up getting to his black belt, and it took him 10 years to get there, and it took him 10 more years to become a white belt again because he had worked with his black belt so long, the bleach of the black had dried off and turned white again. And he was constantly, it's his way of saying, I'm constantly learning, constantly readjusting, constantly getting better, and constantly upgrading.
That's a crazy physical analogy of that. And wow, it is. And greatness never ends. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you get at. When you're living in your purpose, you know there's something more. It's that
Yeah,
natural expansion that we have inside us, and that's when you know the greatness. I mean, you just laid down some. Everybody, I want everybody that's watching this live to give him some love in the comments, throw up some hearts. This guy is just, man. This is incredible. I knew this was going to be an incredible interview, and you're an amazing speaker. I just love this value that you're giving because everything that you said is just so on point.
yeah.
And it's not, you just, the way that you share it is in a different way. And that's really what I really love so much about people like you. And, quite frankly, people like me that don't care what other people are necessarily going to think about what we do. We know that, like, with our hearts, we just go out there and start sharing, and no one's going to deliver the message like you just delivered. It was fire, bro.
I
Seriously.
appreciate it. I appreciate that.
So let everybody know right now, what's the future look like for Mr. Cliff Starks? I know you've already written a book? You've already written a book, correct?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so you have your book, you have a coaching program, you're building a community online as well. So where are we going from here with all this? What's the future look like for you?
Man, like I say, being as present as I possibly can be. And I know that there's a book from Good to Great from Jim Collins. And they say alignment or momentum plus results equals alignment. And that's what I really stand by is like, if I can get the results and I can get momentum on my side, I will be aligned. And so now my process as an entrepreneur is I'm learning this journey and I'm getting the reps in it. And it's a lot of new different reps. It's completely different. But most people would say, like, I guess that's probably what he would have done, because not everyone was telling me to be a fighter. My parents, especially, weren't exactly happy about me saying, yeah, I'm going to give this fighting thing a try. It's a scary thing. And so you got to live life for you, ultimately. And so living life for me is just loving people up, doing the best that I can, and articulating it in a way where it makes sense to them. Because if I'm just talking and it doesn't make any sense, people leave with I don't understand what that perspective was. But if I talk to people, I always say there's two types of people that I'm talking to. I'm talking to the leaders who are looking to always bring that game higher. Because when they bring their game higher, it makes everyone else bring their game higher. So we need the leaders. We need them to do that thing. But I'm also talking to the enough is enough crowd. The people who are sick and tired of just being sick and tired. And they want to move and do things. And the reason I talk to them is because I don't want anyone to have any kind of excuse not to do something. Because there's so many different reasons. And there's so many people who will boo on you and hate on you and tell you can't do it. Whether you've been a drug addict, an alcoholic, whether you've been overweight, whether you may even be mentally challenged, whatever it is, don't let the world bring you down, because that's what they do. And when a person's bringing you down, they're not even bringing you down. They're bringing themselves down.
It's funny. You just mentioned too. You talked to two different types of people. You talked to leaders, and then you talked to the other crowd, the people that are looking, that are searching.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the same philosophy in the sense that when you're truly working on yourself, you never lose. You're going to get respect from everybody. You're going to get respect from the leaders because they're going to look at you and go, all right, Cliff is doing everything he needs to do. Good job, Cliff. And then the second part of the other type of people that are looking for hope, they're going to look to you and go, I want to do what you're doing. I want to be able to have this mindset and confidence and know that I can do anything that I put my mind to. So you never lose when you invest in yourself.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah, cool. So where's the best? Now you have a YouTube channel, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So
All
you
you
have
have
you
to do is, yeah, just search Clifford Starks because I don't know the exact link to it,
yeah.
but it's pretty easy to find.
So you're on YouTube, you have a Facebook community, and then you have a website as well, I'm sure, right?
I do. CliffordStarks.com.
Okay,
And I
cool.
actually have, I'm in the process of creating another name. I'm curious how people will like this. It's called MindBodyMentoring.com. So I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you better go buy it right now
I
after
already got
putting
it. I already
Oh, you
got it.
already
Yeah. So I'm in the process of creating something with it.
so it's mindbodymentoring.com.
MindBodyMentoring.com.
That's a really incredible website name, I'm
I
sure.
like it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like, so when it comes to the coaching aspect, and I was like, what differentiates me from other coaches? Well, one, I stepped into a ring, but I'm really big on the mind, body, spirit, like working your mind, your body, and your spirit as much as you can.
Yeah. Yep, because that's the core of it. Yep.
Hmm.
Everything runs in threes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been incredible having you on here. I'm definitely going to make sure that you have access to this recording so you can share it with your community and your people as
Awesome.
well. We're broadcasting this on our YouTube channel, hashtag Live Masters. We're in Live Masters as well, and we're on my public page. So at the end of all the videos that I always do, I always want to throw out an open invitation to come in and check out our community called Live Masters. That's where we are doing a video challenge right now. And it's an incredible community. So we definitely want to throw that out there for you. It's free to come in there and check out what amazing people like Cliff are doing in there, completing video challenges and then coming on here and then, digging a little bit deeper than more than just doing the video. You did a great job on all your videos, man. You're an
Thank you.
ultimate professional, and it was incredible to have you in the community. And yeah, before we leave, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And thank you for everybody that shared and showed love and everything. But before we go, I want to make sure I give you an opportunity to give us some closing thoughts and give something people could take away that they can think about the rest of the day.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is people are interested when you're interested. And I want to give a shout out to you, Mike, because you've done so much through your journey and through your story. And you showed up in times you might not want to show up, and so I'm just honored to be a part of the process. As we both know Rick, and I love that dude. He's just a good dude. And it's nice to know that there's people out there like that, because sometimes life is hard and sometimes people will kick you down and beat you up. And I do my best to remind other people, like, the reason they're doing that is because they've been kicked and beat, and they just don't know how to express it any differently. And so people like you and people like Rick and other light workers are coming out to shine, to remind people, hey, there's another way. And it's about stepping into your light to remind others that they can step into theirs too. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. Wow. I really appreciate you, man. That was amazing that you said that about me. I really, really appreciate it. And so thank you again, everybody, for watching. This was an incredible interview. One of my favorites. I say it at the end of every one, because everybody that comes on here is truly amazing. So
Amen.
again, thank you so much for coming on, Cliff. And
Yes, thank
everybody
you.
else, again, thank you for watching. God bless each and every single one of you guys. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you guys.